Hey, it's Mark with ONYX Training Group. I've got a series starting out. It's called ONYX Training Table. And what we're going to do is we're going to take real and hypothetical situations, and we're going to talk about them, and in respect to how our decision-making principles can enhance our performance in critical incidents. One of the big things to understand is that we need to be looking at situations that happen to understand how we can improve if improvement needs to happen, and what we can do about it. All too often we look at situations and we just talk them up as an accident, a tragic accident. Well, if we know, like a police shooting, say of the Tatiana Jefferson situation in Fort Worth, Texas, and we call it a tragic accident because the officer shot through the window and killed the homeowner, resident Tatiana Jefferson. Well, could we do something different to avoid doing that in the future? If so, we need to be looking at that kind of stuff and talking about it. We can't just go, oh, that's a tragic accident, and don't work to improve performance. That's like saying, you know, we got uncontrolled intersections and people getting into accidents. We're like, oh, that's terrible. Well, just put a stop sign there. Put a light there, whatever, right? You don't have to have an uncontrolled intersection and just deal with people getting killed in accidents. There are things we can do to change that. And if there are, we should be doing that, right? So as we talk about these events, different situations, different events, don't get hung up on just being critical, or that I'm being critical or being negative. What I'm doing is looking at this saying, hey, let's look at the situation, and do we have tools, tactics, and training, foundational principles and concepts, different tactics that could have made that situation go better than it did, right? We don't want to be in the spot where we're shooting people or we're hurting people for no reason. Or if we could have avoided it, we didn't take the time to get better and learn how to avoid that. So that's what these are going to be. You know, it's ONYX Training Table. We're going to sit down, we're going to tabletop these deals, and we're going to talk about them. And it's going to use a couple different concepts that I teach in my classes, that I talk about in my blogs, and in these different situations, and to see how the situation might have gone different, all right? So the first one we're going to talk about today is a traffic stop that turned into a brief chase wherein the suspect crashed into another car and was then stuck. The police officers came up to talk with him, get him to surrender. The suspect then claimed that he had a gun. The event lasted for about 4 minutes before the officers ended up shooting and killing the suspect because he apparently made a movement to produce a firearm. The key to this is that the suspect did not have a firearm. He did not have a weapon, had no weapon the entire time, and so there's a couple things we're going to talk about with surrounding that, and how some simple changes of tactics could have altered that situation greatly. So, Baby Groot is a baller. He's rolling a nice fresh Bel Air, huh? All right. So anyway, what we got here is this is the setup. Initially, there was a car blocking here. So the two officers began communicating with them, talking with the suspect. This officer was the primary officer. He was yelling at the suspect, yelling and screaming, telling him to show his hands, show his hands. The suspect wouldn't show his hands. He kept them under his legs, along, sitting in the seat. This second officer back here was just the backing officer watching the back of the vehicle. So here's the issue. We're too close. There's about 3 or 4 feet at most between these two people here, and he is worried that this person is going to produce a firearm at any second and try to shoot him. So he's yelling, show me your hands, show me your hands. I don't want to shoot you, I don't want to shoot you. Come on, give up, give up. He starts to get tunnel focused because what's he really worried about? Yeah, like anybody, getting shot. So he can't really focus on communication, so the communication isn't really beneficial. All he's doing for 4 minutes is yelling, show me your hands, I don't want to shoot you. The suspect does something, the officer ends up shooting and killing him. So let's talk about two different concepts here. We got the OODA loop and we got space and time. So the OODA loop is our information processing paradigm, right? We're all familiar with that. Observe, orient, decide, and act. And so right here, the officer is inside the suspect's OODA loop.
this action versus reaction. The suspect, unknown to the officers, had told somebody previous that he was planning to or was willing to do suicide by cop. So now he's in the situation to make that happen. So action versus reaction, he suddenly pulls his hands up. What is he primed to do? He's been primed for the last several minutes that this guy has a gun and he's going to pull it on him. That's all he's thinking about. So when he brings his hand up quickly, automatically he's going to have to, because of the OODA loop processing, he's going to have to speed through the OODA loop processing and just do what he thinks he needs to do, which is shoot the guy. But the guy doesn't have any gun, so he ends up shooting an unarmed person. He's still a person, even though he's a suspect. A couple things that could have happened. Another officer on scene brings the car up to the back here, right? Like that? Dub City. All right? So he brings the police car back up here. They have the doors open. These two officers move back to a position of a little bit of cover and some distance. They've now created space and time. With space and time, the more space we have, the more time we give ourselves to make good decisions. We also can more naturally go through our OODA loop processing. The suspect now is taken out of their OODA loop because what is he counting on? He's counting on action versus reaction, and now we've just increased the amount of time to respond. So as he's sitting here, he can do a couple things, right? He can get out and run. That's great. Since we're back here and we're setting things up, this is similar to what? A high-risk stop, right? Sounds like somebody's got a high-risk stop going outside as we speak. So as these officers are here, we can start to slow things down into a more natural response. We know how to handle a high-risk stop. We know what that looks like. We start to give the suspect commands. They're nice, they're clear, they're succinct, and the suspect is most likely going to comply. Now, if we like to, we can move even further back, put more space and time, get another car, bring it up, and now we can really be in a high-risk stop. But this is fine too, right? So now the suspect has to decide, do I get out, try to run? We got a canine for that, we got less lethal, or most likely just give up. Suspects will resist us when they feel like they have the opportunity to win or the opportunity to get away. If they can't do either of those things, most suspects don't have a death wish. They aren't going to just automatically commit suicide. Now this person was possibly suicidal, but he's going to look for a quick, sudden event to happen. This is going to be a lot harder for him to make happen. All right. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight, something to think about. If you have comments, concerns, questions, please email me, mneal@onyxtg.com. You can go to our website, onyxtg.com, and contact me through there too. Check things out. You can look at some of our blog articles, sign up for our monthly newsletter, and understand we need to be paying attention to these things in law enforcement. It's not difficult to learn these basic principles that can really help us out, keep us out of shootings when we don't need to be in them, and can also make us much more beneficial to our community, right? So if you're looking at this saying, well, hey, he determined that. Yes, the suspect does have a say in it, but at the same time, we can be more controlling and more in control of the situation than we are sometimes, right? So, again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, please contact me. Talk to you next time.